Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and you had to know this video was coming. In today's video, I'm going to be testing out the newly double buffed Ledian in the Open Grade League. As a part of the Season 27 balance update, Ledian got access to Rollout as a fast move and Acrobatics as a charge move. This means his full moveset is now going to be Rollout, Dynamic Punch, and Acrobatics, giving it a real moveset for the first time ever. Today I'm going to be testing it out with a team consisting of Shadow Celio lead, Ledian as the save switch, and Aegislash as the closer. Is this a good team? Definitely not, but we're gonna run it anyway. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and in game number 1 we pick up a very strong lead Shadow Celio into Talonflame. The fact that Talonflame's staying in tells me that my opponent is very core broken by the Celio, because honestly Talonflame gets destroyed here. I fire off the Surf, Talonflame puts up the shield. Even if they boost up their damage with Flame Charge, they're never going to be able to farm me down because I have the rank 1 Shadow Celio. They don't go for the Flame Charge, instead opting for the Fly. Body Slam would not yet knock out, so I fire off the Surf, and I'm able to grab that final shield. Considering I have 2 Pokemon with a lot of nuke moves in the back with Ledian and Aegislash, I'm very happy to see my opponent use their shield so early. My opponent safe switches into Gastrodon, and they are going to regret that decision, as in comes Ledian. Ledian's rollouts are going to be resisted, but I will be able to hit for big neutral damage with its new move of Acrobatics. I'm just going to look to massively overfarm. Their Mud Slaps are double resisted, their Body Slams are doing nothing, Gastrodon is just completely helpless. Ledian has a really rough typing Bug Flying, but it has an incredible stat product. It's able to absorb Body Slam after Body Slam after Body Slam and just simply never care. They fire off Body Slam number 3, I farm up to 100 energy, and Dynamic Punch should be able to take the knockout. If my opponent brings back in the Talonflame, I should be able to throw 1 rollout and put it into Dynamic Punch range. They're going to wait down the timer here, timer hits 0, in comes Talonflame, I throw 1 rollout and go for Dynamic. I'm hoping this is enough to knock out. Dynamic takes the KO, in the back is Diggersby, and we're not even going to need the Aegislash in game number 1. I get to fire off Dynamic Punch, big super effective damage, and pivot into the Shadow Celio. Shadow Celio's Surf locked and loaded. This is going to be devastating damage onto the Diggersby. Diggersby will be able to knock out the Celio, but I can just bring back into Ledian, roll out down the Diggersby, and get the game 1 win. In comes Ledian, down goes Diggersby, and that's a good game. Picking up a terrible lead in the next match, Shadow Celio into Metajam. I save switch into Ledian, out comes a Fearow, and so far we're off to a pretty rough start. Drill Peck hits for big super effective damage, but I'm able to tank it and fire off the Acrobatics. Acrobatics is a very strong move, it connects, Ledian survives, rollouts down, and wins the zeros against Fearow. I cannot believe it. Ledian flipping switch advantage, and now Metacham is in jail. There's just nothing Metacham can do. My opponent tries for a Shadow Ball catch on a Pidgeot, and this game is over. I do need to respect the potential Brave Bird. My opponent's only win con would be landing the Brave Bird, and then I just need to throw too many charge attacks with the Aegislash. But I end up shielding. Even though I end up shielding a Twister Bait, I'm still just in a completely winning position, because as the shields go down, Aegislash becomes unbeatable. My opponent gives up the final shield. Now I can just sacrifice the Celio and close out the game with the Aegislash. They do have Brave Bird, down goes Celio, and my opponent just stops tapping as they realize there's no way out. I can even fire off a double resisted Shadow Ball to take the knockout to cover for a catch, but I'm pretty sure my opponent just ended up force closing out of their app. Shadow Ball takes the KO, back in comes the Metacham, and I get to fire off Shadow Ball number 2. And with a pause here, we know they have indeed left the app. Ledian flipping switch in the mid-game was absolutely everything, and we get the game 2 win. Fearow's back for blood in game number 3, but it leads into my Shadow Celio, so this is a very good matchup for me. In the ones, I should be able to knock it out with Powder Snows and a Body Slam, so I tank the Drill Peck, farm up, go for the Body Slam, and they make a really nice catch onto Walrein. That is a very tragic catch for me, because I don't need the chip damage to knock them out with the Shadow Ball from Aegislash, so it's a very nice play for my opponent to make me use my energy in a very inefficient manner. Walrein did get buffed this season. Earthquake now deals extra damage, and boy do I feel it. Aegislash gets rocked by the Earthquake, and I immediately fire off the Shadow Ball. Even if my opponent ends up putting up the shield here, I'm going to get a ton of Psycho Cuts in Blade form, but they end up no-shielding. Back in comes the Fearow. Fearow looking for the Peck farm down, but they're not going to get there. I'm able to make the Gyro Ball. Gyro Ball will pressure a shield or knock them out. I pivot into the Celio, looking for the Snipe, and in the back, they have Clodsire. They were trying to catch a Body Slam onto the Clodsire, but I was just going to shield and go for the farm down, and now I should be able to land a Surf onto the Clodsire. Clodsire will probably be able to Poison Sting me down, but I just get so much value from the Celio. I am also up 2 shields at this point, which is a really good spot to be when your opponent could threaten you with double super effective damage on a Stone Edge. I have to respect the Stone Edge. It would do way too much damage, but they're not on Stone Edge, they're on Sludge Bomb, and this game is just over. Sludge Bomb is going to be doing nothing to Ledian. They fire off the Sludge Bomb, Ledian tanks it effortlessly, in comes the Firo, and I will shield the first. Even if they get to the second, Drill Peck will not knock out. They don't get there, and this game is over. Back in comes the Clodsire. Ledian makes the acrobatics. This will be massive overkill, knocking out the Clodsire and securing the win. We move to the next match, picking up a pretty rough lead, Shadow Celio into Kanto Ninetales. Anytime you're team building around a spice pick, like in this case Ledian, you're never going to be able to cover for every weakness. You can try and cover for as many as you can, but there will always be Pokemon that are going to be a little bit difficult for your team to deal with. And in this case, I'm very weak to Electric, and I'm very, very weak to Kanto Ninetales. I shield the Energy Ball, I'm able to get a shield with the Body Slam bait, and now I can CMP ties Surf to Energy Ball. Energy Ball will not take the knockout. High rank Shadow Celio coming in clutch for the 1,000th time. I fire off the Surf, get them low, and unfortunately it's a simultaneous switch, Ledian into Mantine. This is a little bit rough. I definitely would have preferred to have Mantine locked onto the Aegislash, where Aegislash could have completely shut it down. They land the Water Pulse, I hit back hard with the Acrobatics, and the good news is my rollouts are slowly chunking through their health bar. The Acrobatics does put them very low. My opponent fires off the Twister. Can I actually hold on here? Ledian survives the Twister, makes the Acrobatics. Let's go. Ledian able to win the zeros into Mantine. Mantine gets KO'd, and in the back, my opponent has Shadow Swanna. A minute ago, I was lamenting the Simul Swap, but the Simul Swap actually ended up winning me the game because Ledian would have gotten gusted down by the Shadow Swanna. They try for catch onto Ninetales. We slam the door by farming down with the Celio. I even make a Body Slam into the Swanna. Swanna is never going to be shielding here, though. They know they have bigger fish to fry with Aegislash's Shadow Ball. Shadow Swanna, these Aqua Jets are really going to add up, but the good news for me is I am just outside of Aqua Jet range. It's going to be pretty close here, but I will be able to hang on, and by still having the Protect Shield intact, this game is over. I throw one charging, wait the turn to let the Gust land while I'm in shield form, and now I have 100 energy. Back-to-back Shadow Balls, my opponent just going to let the Swanna go, and we take the win. We pick up a pretty nice lead in the next match, Shadow Celio into Mantine. Opponent safe switches into Primeape, and this is a problem Pokemon for the team. I stay in with the Celio, fire off the Body Slam to get a shield, and then I'm going to send in Ledian to absorb Rage Fists. I should be able to tank 2 Rage Fists very comfortably here. Ledian is very, very bulky, but they're on an Ice Punch, and that is very bad news. Ice Punch means they have the ability to basically two-shot me. I'm forced to burn a shield. Now they go for the Rage Fist, and unfortunately, it really feels like it's all going wrong. I can fire off Dynamic Punch, but at this point, they've realized I'm very weak, so they're always going to be shielding. I'm very worried about a potential catch out, so I'm actually going to look to overfarm here and watch for the catch onto the Mantine. I overfarm past it, go for Dynamic Punch, and they catch. Oh, I should have just thrown Dynamic as soon as I got it. Now that problematic Primeape has been preserved, it has a ton of energy. If I thought they were catching, I could have considered going for the Acrobatics, so even if they caught it onto the Mantine, it would have done a lot of damage. But now, I'm definitely just losing to that Primeape. The Primeape is just too far ahead. I fire off Body Slam. It looks like the next Body Slam will barely miss the knockout as well. And that Primeape up energy, unless there's something I can one-shot in the back, I'm going to be in a ton of trouble. In comes Primeape. I do get the Powder Snow landing on it. I send in the Ledian. They're going to be able to knock me out, probably even just with a Rage Fist at this point. No, they go for the Ice Punch to guarantee the KO. But Aegislash can never charging down. This is the absolute worst health range for an opponent to be at. I can never get the charging down. I'm going to be forced to fire off energy. But if it's something I could one-shot in the back, there's still a chance. Rage Fist is going to land. They pivot out. It's a Kanto Ninetales, and unfortunately, this game is over. Kanto Ninetales is very, very bulky. It does have enough bulk to withstand the Shadow Ball and win the game. I fire off Shadow Ball. Ninetales survives. If I had just thrown Dynamic Punch as soon as I got it and knocked out the Primeape, I feel like I was in a pretty good spot, but unfortunately, I did not. My opponent made a great catch, and that cost me. We see a terrible lead in the next match as I'm core broken to smithereens by Melmetal. I'm going to farm up the Surf, try for the catch onto Aegislash. I do not get it. My opponent banks a ton of energy and then sends out Sliggoo. This is actually very good. It appears my opponent has no answer to Aegislash. However, with the amount of energy my opponent has on Melmetal, I don't think I can ever afford to go down shields as the Aegislash. So, as crazy as it sounds, I'm going to be no-shielding Aegislash in the Blade form. Dragon Pulse does huge damage, but I can exit with a Shadow Ball and a Wind Charge tech priority over every Pokemon in the game. Back in comes the Melmetal. I didn't see a sneak, so it looks like they did CMP time me here. Shadow Ball gets the shield. They're locked into taking me out with that Dynamic Punch. No, they actually went for the double Iron Bash, and now I can bring in the Ledian. At the very least, they can't throw their better move, Dynamic Punch. They're going to be forced to fire off double Iron Bash. Double Iron Bash will add up because these Thunder Shocks are super effective as well, but I can very comfortably survive too, and I do have to watch for a potential catch. There's the catch attempt. They send in Shadow Kingdra, and I'm just going straight for the Acrobatics. Going for the Jugular. Acrobatics lands. I can send in the Celio. I really don't care about tanking a Swift. I can farm all the way down and exit with the back-to-back Surfs. Even though Melmetal should hang on to a Surf, it's just going to put them way too low. A Surf is guaranteed to land because they only have one Protect Shield remaining. I fire off the Surf. They no shield, and now I can survive the Thunder Shocks, double up on Body Slams, and get the win. So I fire off Body Slam number 1, Melmetal will shield, there's Body Slam number 2, and despite the fact that Melmetal core breaks us to smithereens, my opponent was triple weak to Aegislash, so we actually get the 2-shield flex. Moving to the next game, picking up a very nice lead, Shadow Celio into Firo. My opponent's going to pivot out, they're going to send in Licky Licky, and I'm going to respond with Aegislash. Licky Licky is a pretty difficult Pokemon for this team to face. Arguably, the team is triple weak. Aegislash definitely is my best answer here, but if my opponent manages their energy well, and that's exactly what they're doing, then I'm going to be in for a very rough time. They build up to the back-to-back Shadow Balls. I CMP tie Gyro Ball to the Shadow Ball, but if my opponent just undertaps their Shadow Ball, I'm never going to get my second move. I don't think I'm out of the game just yet though, because even though I'm never going to get this second Gyro Ball, I should be able to go for a 1-shield Powder Snow down and exit with 100 Celio energy, and I'm trusting in the fact that with a Firo lead, there's very frequently a ground in the back. And if there's a ground, then Celio should do quite well into it. So I put up the shield as they fire off Shadow Ball. I'm going to get the full Powder Snow down, and let's see what they have back there. They have a Carbink. Man, I really wish I still had my Aegislash, but Surf will do a lot of damage. I fire off the Surf. That does not quite two-shot, but with the Powder Snows, it's going to be very, very close. My opponent, now 2 off the Rock Slide. I fire off the Surf. That's going to get the shield. I'm worried they're going to farm me down, so I throw the Body Slam on the CMP tie. Body Slam should allow me to make a Surf if they end up shielding, but they no shield, and I just threw the game by clicking Body Slam. In the moment, I expected my opponent to try and go for the farm down, so the Body Slam bait to try and pressure them to throw energy made quite a bit of sense. But once they locked into a CMP tie, they just decided to fully sacrifice the Carbink, and by not getting the shield and not getting any damage, I just have no way of winning. We pick up a pretty decent lead in the final match, Shadow Celio into Shadow Feraligatr. Now this is a pretty nice matchup for the Celio because I guaranteed win the zeros with double Body Slam. I can just outpace them with my 10-8 pacing. This guarantees I either get rid of Feraligatr or I end up getting a shield advantage. And shield advantage is definitely what Aegislash is going to want in the back. They land the Hydro Cannon, I fire off Body Slam number 2. This should be putting them pretty low. My opponent double shields the Feraligatr for some reason, and I'm going to get aggressive and send Ledian on the field. I have to respect the potential Ice Beam. Feraligatr just going to go for the Hydro Cannon. I'm just going to watch for a potential catch, and there it is. Out comes Clodsire. Clodsire, not a good Pokemon for my Aegislash or my Ledian to see. Acrobatics will do a lot of damage, but if this Clodsire is rocking Stone Edge, then unfortunately my Ledian at this health range is definitely getting one shot. I fire off Acrobatics number 2, able to put in some nice work. My opponent fires off energy, and I'm expecting that I will get one shot here. It's the Stone Edge, I do get KO'd, and now I bring in the Aegislash. Even though my opponent does make the super effective Earthquake, I think I'm going to hold on to my final shield to give me the ability to switch forms as needed. My opponent's going to pivot for Alligator. I send in the Celio, and I realize, unfortunately, I'm going to have to burn the final shield not on the Aegislash, but on the Celio. I will make the last second Body Slam. I'm going to be able to neutralize that for Alligator, but I still feel like I'm in a very rough spot unless there's something in the back that I have the ability to one-shot. Celio, very, very low. They bring in the Clodsire to get a little bit of farm, and I'm going to bring in the Aegislash. I'm going to cover for a catch in case it's a normal type like Firo in the back and fire off Gyro Ball. I have to hope that it's something Aegislash can one-shot. Last time it was a Kanto Ninetales and I wasn't able to win. In the back is a Azumarill, and unfortunately we have lost. Azumarill now has the energy for the Ice Beam. I have no Protect Shields to hide behind. This game is over. Azumarill overfarms. They go for the Bad Manners Bubble down, and it loses them the game. They did not think Aegislash was making the third Shadow Ball. We knock out Azumarill, and we steal a win from the jaws of defeat. And now some final thoughts on the team and Ledian as a whole with its new moveset. To start with, I did go positive in both sets with the team. I went 3-2 twice. I do think that arguably I probably should have gone even, because in one of those sets, one of the wins was the game where the trainer had the game completely won and then just tried to go for the bad manners, bubble down with the Azumarill, and then got absolutely smoked by the 1 HP Shadow Ball from Aegislash. But all in all, for running a Pokemon like Ledian, I'm very happy to go positive in rank 18. Ledian is a Pokemon they have repeatedly tried to buff. They gave it counter to try and give it play, but they gave it counter in the same move update that they gutted counter. So unfortunately, Ledian really did not do much outside of the occasional Love Cup appearance. In the past, they've also given it Dynamic Punch. We've had, I believe, buffs to Silverwind. We've had buffs to Bug Buzz. They've kind of buffed everything to try and make Ledian better, and it has just continued not to work. I think with the current moveset that it has as of this season, Rollout, Acrobatics, and Dynamic Punch, this is by far the closest we've ever had to a playable Ledian. Ledian's stats and moveset are now incredible. Ledian is so bulky. It is in the 2200s range in terms of stat product, and pairing that with a moveset like Rollout, Dynamic Punch, and Acrobatics, that actually does allow Ledian to have a lot more play than it had in the past. Unfortunately, Ledian is still paying for the sins of its typing. Bug Flying is just a truly atrocious typing. You don't really get a lot of interesting resistances, and you end up having so many weaknesses. You get shredded by so many typings for super effective, and that's the thing that's always going to hold Ledian back. However, enough with the negative. I'm thrilled that they've made Ledian better. I would argue Ledian right now is probably a playable spice pick, which is better than it ever has been. Arguably, in the Open Great League, I don't think it's ever seen any legitimate play before, so the fact that I was able to go positive with it across several sets is something that I am very happy about. I do very much appreciate the fact that Aegislash always has the ability of you can kind of pair some random nonsense with it, as long as that random nonsense has good shield pressure and be able to go positive. I do think Aegislash has a lot more difficult matchups this season, so it is more difficult to run, but I ended up running Aegislash throughout all of today, and even with some pretty rough misplays on my part, I still feel that Aegislash does have a place in this meta. With new Mud Boys and Kanto Ninetales surging in popularity, there are definitely a lot more bad matchups for Aegislash, but there's also quite a few Pokemon, like the Manteens of the world, that really can't do anything to fight back, so it is kind of hit or miss, but it's still just a very fun Pokemon to play. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed watching today's video, please do help support the channel by leaving a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And an extra special thank you as always to our channel members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide to the channel is so appreciated. So thank you guys so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.